Greetings, it's your helpful housing analyst, William Leach, bringing you a topic I'm passionate about, detailed line item budgets. If you haven't already, pause the video and read the companion white paper that this video accompanies. Let's dive in. Our goal is to create a development cost budget that can be summarized in various ways. But first, let's start by visualizing the problem. This tab shows 4 different methods for tabulating total project costs, using individual cells or subtotals, referring to a named range, referring to a range of cells, and referring to a table and column. What we're going to do is we're going to simulate adding rows in the bottom, the middle, and at the top of these budgets. We're going to add 3 to each location that we added to the budget. And we're going to take note that the leftmost scenario didn't add anything to the budget. The named range only added the one in the middle. The standard range added the one in the middle. Sometimes it'll add the one on the bottom. But the best and most predictable is the table that has a column reference, which added all of them to the budget. So let's get into the solution of creating a table and a detailed line item budget. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a list of costs and give those an amount. And we're going to create a table by highlighting our items and our headers. Insert table. My table has headers. Okay. I'm going to go with a lighter gray on this one. And I'm going to name this budget. All right, next, I want to create cost codes and phases to categorize these particular costs in case my supervisor wants to know how much do we need to pay for entitlements? How much are we going to need to pay in plan check fees? So here I've got a couple of cost codes, 3 different cost codes and 3 different phases that my manager cares about. So for me to force the table to use these exact cost codes, I'm going to first name this range. I'm going to name it list cost codes. I'm going to name this range list phases. And then when I have all of my cost codes and phases, which I just quickly put in there, I want to make sure nobody spells it wrong. See how I could spell this wrong? If I spelled it wrong, it might not be able to find the match correctly. So I'm going to force all of these cells to pull from a drop-down list of only these choices. So before I do that, let me take my table, design, resize the table, make sure I get all of it, hit OK. All right, now, so I'm going to grab these cost codes. We're going to go data, data validation. It can't be any value, it must be from a list. And that list is called list cost codes. Okay. Now you'll see the drop-down list will pick one of these 3 cost codes. All right, let's do the same thing for phases. Click U, data, data validation, can't be any, must be a list, equals list phases is what I named it. Okay, drop-down list. This will ensure I always use the right name. This will ensure if I look up which plan check fees there are, it will find those exact items. Now, let's go ahead and calculate our total project cost, calculate our cost per code and phase, and see what we got. We're going to start with a simple function equals the sum of all the cells above me. That's our total project cost. Then we're going to come in here and we're going to need to use the SUMIFS function. We're going to need to say, hey, add up all the costs, but only if the cost code is a plan check fee. So we're going to say equals SUMIFS. The sum range is the table and the column name. The criteria, I want you to check the cost codes. And what do I want you to check for? I want you to check that it equals Bravo 21, the cell to my left. Right? It says, hey, I found $130,000 of plan check fees. Okay, I'll take your word for it. Let me drag this down. Oops, got some old conditional formatting here. Let's go home, conditional formatting, manage rules, and let's delete that rule. Okay, so dragged it down. It says we have 188,000 of permit fees. Let's see. Here's the permit fee, 8,000. Here's a permit fee, another 180. That makes sense. So it looks like it's calculating it right. Let's go ahead and do equals the sum of the three above me. This will also need the sum of the three above it. And let's go ahead and steal this formula. And let's take it over here. We're going to say, hey, sum up the budget. As long as the cost code, actually I don't care about the cost code here, I care about the phase. And I don't want it to be equal to B21, I want it to be D21. It says, hey, I have 3001 in the due diligence phase, that makes sense. Let's go ahead and drag this down. And I got 47, 47, 47. So we've got total project cost, and we also have cost by cost code, cost by phase. My manager's happy. I've given them breakdowns. But let's say I, as the user, would like a little more flexibility in this tool. Maybe sometimes I want to say a particular item is not applicable. Maybe I want some labels so I can see what phase I'm talking about. Or maybe even I need some subtotals. So we're going to add what I call the exclude column. We're going to add a column where we can teach the table this isn't really a cost. We're going to go design, resize the table, and we're going to tell it you've got one column to your left, the exclude column. And I want to teach it this item is not applicable. I would like this $1 to not make it in any of these totals. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this sum function and we're going to give it a criteria. So we're going to say sum ifs the amount, and I want you to check the exclude column, and I want you to ensure that it equals nothing. And it said, hey, I found a bunch of cost where it equals nothing, but there was a cost that wasn't nothing, so I didn't add it. Now let's come down here. Let's change these sum if functions and make sure that they also verify it hasn't been excluded. So we're going to say check the exclude column, and it better equal nothing. I'm going to drag this down, and let's add that same criteria here. And the exclude column equals and nothing. Drag this down. Right. No dollars, no dollars, no dollars, because we excluded that cost. We can also exclude this cost if we want. We can type anything we want in any cell in the exclude column, and it will exclude that amount from the budget. Now let's say I wanted labels. Let's say, man, it's hard for me to see which cost I'm looking for. Where is that zone change cost? Maybe I would like some labels showing me what phase I'm talking about. So I'm going to come in here and go insert a row in between each of the phases, and I'll show you how to make a label for each of these. So I'm going to label this due diligence, entitlements, and building permits. I'm going to call this a label. I'm going to copy that to my other two labels. But I'd like it to pop. I'd like this to be bolder or brown or darker gray or something. So let's use conditional formatting. We'll highlight the entire table. Home, conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, equals, money sign, always check the A column, 2 is equal to the word label. And if it is, go ahead and do the fill. Give me that color gray, and the font, give me bold. Okay, okay. And now I've got some headers. Because there's a word here, any kind of number in this cell isn't going to get added to the budget. And it is now visually appealing to help me find, hey, where are those entitlement costs? Okay, where's that? There it is. Okay, I'm ready to go. All right, now what if we wanted to use a subtotal? Let's pretend our impact fee inflation line item is we want to be 5% of the impact fees. Maybe we want multiple lines in our budget to reference the subtotal of these 3 impact fees. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert a line here, and we're going to say impact fees. We're going to say equals the sum of these items. Except we just blew our budget up by $325,000 by duplicating these costs. I don't want that. So we're going to tell this, hey, don't count this one. Exclude it. This is a subtotal. Excellent. It excluded it. Now I'm going to say equals that subtotal times 5%. And now I have my inflation contingency that I was looking for. Now, I don't like how this is black, just like the rest of them, so I'm going to add another conditional formatting to de-emphasize this row. So let's go ahead and highlight our table. Go to Home, Conditional Formatting. Let's do a new rule, the formula. And we're going to say that always check the A column, A2, and it will be equal to subtotal if I want you to make the font. Let's go with a dark gray. Okay. And it de-emphasized our subtotal, which we know isn't calculating in the totals because it's excluded. It's not counting in the cost codes or the phases because it's excluded. And here we have a detailed line item budget that we can add a row anywhere we want. We can delete rows anywhere we want. We can have multiple items to help us understand our plan check fees. We can categorize things by cost code or by phase or by tax status, whatever we need. And we know that whatever we do with this budget, it will continue to be in total project costs. It will continue to be in our summary breakdowns, and we won't miss a cost. I pray this financial modeling example proves helpful to you in delivering housing to Californians. God bless.